All right, y'all. I told you I was gonna break these debates down. Um, so we're gonna review this debate in Pennsylvania between my guy Fester Adams, aka Fetterman, and your boy Green Goblin, aka Dr. Oz. I would mainly say I'm pretty conservative, probably a little further to the right than even that. I have no faith in Dr. Oz at all, personally. I thought he was a very terrible candidate from the break. I wanted to go over these 10 rules or commandments of logic, which I no longer think are relevant in a debate any longer, just because of the era of social media and the way that the left has really gaslit the right. And so I think that these rules are no longer. Um, I don't think they no longer apply, but I'm going to go ahead and read through them anyway. So let's go to the first one. Thou shalt not attack the person's character, but the argument ad hominem, right? Thou shalt not misrepresent or exaggerate the person's argument in order to make it easier to attack. Straw man fallacy. Like these are all rules that have been broken. Like we've all seen them broken in debates. I mean, there's no such thing as a perfect debate anymore, especially in politics in the United States. There's no penalty for this. Thou shalt not argue thy position by assuming one of its premises is true, begging the question. Um, Thou shalt not claim that because something occurred before, it must be the cause. Post hoc, false cause. Thou shalt not reduce the argument to two possibilities, false dichotomy. Right? Thou shalt not argue that because of one's ignorance, a claim must be true or false. Ad ignoranum. Thou shalt not lay the burden of proof onto a person who is questioning the claim. Burden of proof reversal. Thou shalt not assume this follows that when there is no logical connection, non sequitur, right? Thou shalt not argue that because a premise is popular that it must be true, bandwagon theory. Okay, none of these things are relevant. I don't like people that get into conversations and don't do any of these. These are not relevant at all. It's not like because people do. It's not like if you don't do these things, people are going to like you more, because that's just not the case. It's not the idea of following these rules within a debate doesn't even prove victory to most of the people listening to debate, because sometimes it is about winning over the crowd, unfortunately. Like I said, I have no faith in Dr. Oz. I'm pretty much at this point, I am a single issue voter. I have one vote that one issue that I'm the most concerned about, and that is cancel culture and tech censorship. If you're not talking about that, I can't really rock with you. I mean, if you're living in 1920 with the Constitution and freedom of speech, which is something we don't even have in this country anymore, and these are all right wing talking points, like people on the right, oh, the freedom and the Constitution, that's like, it has no power anymore when you have private companies that are able to override people's ability to speak. I mean, everybody can speak that can speak. I mean, freedom of speech is exactly what it is. It's being able to speak with little to no consequence of what it is that you're saying. And people that say, well, freedom of speech is not freedom of consequence, that's exactly what it is. Everybody that can speak can speak. It's not like they're having their tongues removed. So I'm going to remove this. Look out here. And then I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and get into this debate really quick. And I'll be right here watching the whole thing. All right, let's roll.
Face to face for the first and only time, both men looking to prove they have what it takes to represent the people of Pennsylvania.
Send Dr. Oz back to New Jersey.
I stand for Pennsylvania values, and I'm proud of it.
Live from the ABC 27 studios in Harrisburg, this is the Pennsylvania U.S. Senate debate. Welcome to Debate Night in America. I'm Leland Vittert from News Nation. The stakes tonight could not be higher, not only for the Keystone State, but...
Look at that jail job in his hair. Look at this. Man, the amount of ALA looks that he had to put to get that perfectly laid down. Looks like Dick Van Dyke.
For the country. Control of the U.S. Senate for either party runs through Pennsylvania. Dennis Owens, WHTM political reporter and anchor here in Harrisburg, along with Lisa Sylvester from WPXI in Pittsburgh, will moderate tonight's debate. We want to welcome our viewers watching tonight from across the country on News Nation. Voters can watch this debate in all 67 Pennsylvania counties on 9 television stations serving the Commonwealth. Before we get started, let's go over tonight's rules. Mr. Fetterman, Mr. Oz, you will have 60 seconds to answer each question. If there's a follow-up question or rebuttal, you will have up to 30 seconds. Each candidate will also have 90 seconds for a closing statement. When your time is up, you'll hear this bell. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Dennis and Lisa.
Thank you, Leland. Good evening, candidates who moments ago just met for the first time. We're happy to have you here. Welcome to our audience watching at home, on air, online, and on News Nation. And we encourage everyone who is watching tonight to share your thoughts on social media. Remember to use the hashtag #PaSenateDebate.
And you may notice these large monitors that are behind us. This is part of our closed captioning system. It was requested by John Fetterman to help him process the questions that we...
This shows his inability right here. The fact that they're even putting it out there that he's so disabled to the point to where that they're having to outlay this screen behind him so he can read. Wow, they're literally just giving it away right there.
We are asking him tonight, and approved by both campaigns, and both candidates can see the monitors.
One of the screens will show only the questions being asked tonight. The second screen will caption the questions and responses from them at
This right here, to me, just shows how bad Dr. Oz is as a candidate. Like, on the right, the fact that you're losing in the polls to somebody like this that has to read off the screen behind them, it just shows that this guy's terrible, man.
We have live
You should be sweeping this guy right now.
experienced captioners in studio to ensure we are as accurate as possible in what's sure to be a fast-paced program.
And just to note, for those of you using closed captioning at home, the captions you see are not tied to the captions that the candidates will see here tonight.
Thank you, Lisa. With that, let's get started. Mr. Fetterman, we're going to begin with you. Your political experience includes serving as the mayor of Braddock, a small borough near Pittsburgh, and one term as lieutenant governor. You're running for a seat that could decide the balance of power in Washington. What qualifies you to be a U.S. Senator? You have 60 seconds.
Hi, good night, everybody. I'm running to serve Pennsylvania. He's running to use Pennsylvania. Here's a man that spent...
He already attacked him day one. Fester Adams coming out hard in the paint, man.
More than $20 million of his own money to try to buy that seat. I'm also having to talk about something called the Oz rule, that if he's on TV, he's lying.
Boy, look at this. Bro, he looks like Kingpin with a hot dog on the back of his neck.
He did that during his career on his TV show. He's done that during his campaign about lying about our record here. And he's also lying probably during this debate. And let's also talk about the elephant in the room. I had a stroke. He's never let me forget that. And
you playing the victim, bro, when you just attacked him out the gate?
I might miss some words during this debate, mush 2 words together, but it knocked me down, but I'm going to keep coming back up. And this campaign is all about, to me, is about fighting for everyone in Pennsylvania that ever got knocked down, that needs to get back up, and fighting for all forgotten communities all across Pennsylvania that also got knocked down, that needs to get back up.
Okay, I'm going to just say this right now. This is my first time watching it, okay? If Dr. Oz does not go low with this, if he tries to play the upstanding man, I'm going to be the bigger man and not attack him, he's not the answer for conservatives. Because right now it is time for conservatives, because the left is played so bad and controls so much. It's time for conservatives to fight. It's time for them to take the gloves off. right? The fact that there's no political power, no representation in anything, in media, in government, in anything, and the left is wrecking them in corporate America through, diversity and inclusion, all this kind of stuff. If this will show me if he's the guy. If he does not wreck him based upon his personal life, if he does not hit below the belt, because that's what it's going to take to get America back. It's not going to take playing by the rules. If he comes on here and if he starts, well, I'm going to be the better man, I'm done with him. I'm just done with him. Let's see if he's got some balls. Let's see if he'll be the villain that he just called you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fetterman. Mr. Oz, you are a doctor, a businessman, and television personality. But this is your first run for elected office. What qualifies you to be a U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania? You have 60 seconds.
I'm running for the U.S. Senate because Washington keeps getting it wrong with extreme positions. I want to bring civility, balance, all the
He lost me right there. He lost me. Civility. Did it look civil outside, bro? You can only get civility by pushing hard, by pushing your will. He lost me right here. There is no civility anymore, man. People are having their bank accounts taken from them over words that they say. Like, dude, what are you? He's not. This isn't the guy, man. I'm gonna let him get his first statement off. He's not the guy, man. He is not the fighter that we need. Right there, just by that first statement.
things that you want to see because you've been telling it to me on the campaign trail. And by doing that, we can bring us together in a way that has not been done of late. Democrats, Republicans talking to each other. John Fetterman.
You're the only one that wants to talk. They don't want to talk to you. Talking together about what? The Democrats don't want to talk to you. They want to not I don't understand this. Why are they're the only side asking for kumbaya? Weak.
Fetterman takes everything to an extreme, and those extreme positions hurt us all. Let's take crime as an example because it's been.
So you're just scared to fight then? Like that's what this is. You're just a coward. You're just you're not a conservative. You're just a coward, man.
Such a big problem. Maureen Faulkner accompanied me today to the studio. You know that her husband was a police officer in Philadelphia, was brutally murdered. John Fetterman, during this crime wave, has been trying to get as many murderers convicted and sentenced to life in prison out of jail as possible, including people who are similar to the man who murdered her husband.
I'm not going to make 30 minutes to this, bro.
The rest of the parole board agreeing. He's doing it without the families on board. These radical positions extend beyond crime to wanting to legalize all drugs, to open the border, to raise.
And what is your response to this? You're going to be a moderate in radical times? So it's funny because you sound like the left. You're anti-radical. They call you radical. So you're just anti-doing anything. These people aren't conservative. They're just anti-action. I'm not going to make it through 30 minutes of this debate. I can just already see it right now.
Our taxes. I want Washington to be civil again.
Civil,
you need it
civil
to be
again. That's what he wants. He just wants it to be civil again. What are you talking about? He's scared. These people are cowards, man. They're cowards. Their answer is to do nothing. They want to get running and do nothing. They're not trying to win. They're not trying to push their agenda. Why are you even in politics if you don't have anything to push? Your answer is to do nothing.
The less radical John Fetterman, unfortunately, would bring that.
Mr. Oz, thank you. Lisa.
All right.
You live in radical times, which is the other way. You would even have to go more radical just to balance it out, stupid.
Gentlemen, on to the economy. Pennsylvanians are struggling to put food on the table and gas in their cars. Our Next Star Emerson College The Hill poll shows the economy and inflation are the biggest concerns for voters. 39% of them listed that as the top issue. Beginning with you, Mr. Oz. You have blamed President Biden and reckless Democratic spending for the inflation crisis, but voters would like to hear your specific plan to cut spending. Please explain in 60 seconds.
Well, if you ask the U.S. government, they'll tell you they have 4% waste and fraud. Now, I've traveled over the Commonwealth and spoken to countless people. There was a lady in Beaver County at a county fair who told me with fear in her heart that she wanted to provide food for her son's highly nutritious chicken she wanted. She couldn't afford it anymore. That's a big problem. If we've got 4% waste and fraud, we ought to be able to take care of that. John Fetterman's, however, response continually is to raise taxes. He raised taxes as mayor. He tried to raise taxes as lieutenant governor, 46%. That's a big tax rate. He supported Joe Biden's recent tax rate increase, and he's done that without paying his own taxes 67 times. I'll say that again. He hasn't paid his own taxes 67 times, but he's raising mine and yours. Those are
In the words of Trump, that would make him smart.
radical positions. They're extreme. They're out of touch with the values of Pennsylvania.
See, extreme. He keeps touching on extreme. We live in an extreme time. This dude's, he's just weak. You don't want to do anything. Like your answer, you want civility. You want us all to come together and live. That's not going to happen, dude.
It's
just weakness, man.
And I can make the difficult decisions.
What's going on, Poppy? I'm just redoing this debate real quick because I'm not going to make it through 30 minutes of this. I hate weak, spineless conservatives, bro. The liberals aren't weak. They just have bad ideologies. Their ideologies are terrible. Their beliefs are terrible, but they fight for what they want. People like this, terrible.
As you do in the operating room as a surgeon, I'll make them cutting our budget as well to make sure we don't have to raise taxes on a population already desperately in pain from the high inflation rate.
Mr. Fetterman, I will allow a 15-second rebuttal. He has specifically said you have not paid your taxes and that you want to raise taxes on Americans. How do you respond?
Absolutely. The Oz rule, of course, he's lying. It was helping two students 17 years ago to help them, buy their own homes. They didn't pay the bills, and it got her paid. And it has never been an issue in any of the campaign before. It was all about nonprofit.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fetterman. Continuing with you, Mr. Fetterman, your opponent has criticized Democratic spending, as you've heard. Has the Biden administration overspent? And if so, where do you think spending should be cut? You have 60 seconds.
No, here's what I think we have to fight about inflation here right now. That's what we need to fight about inflation, right now, because it's a tax on working families, and Dr. Oz can't possibly understand what that is like. He has 10 gigantic mansions. We must push back against corporate greed. We must make sure that we're also pushing back against price gouging as well, too. We also be able to make more in Pennsylvania, make more in America. When he had a choice to make his merchandise, the Oz label is on, he made it all in China. Who can you believe that can fight against inflation and pushing back against corporate greed for somebody that is choosing working in China versus over American work?
This debate is a disaster, bro. Like, that's some of the most incoherent answers like I've seen. This guy's going to try to say corporate greed led to inflation. I don't understand. I guess he's saying that the corporations are choosing to disrupt their supply chain. He put in supply chains. I don't understand. I'm not going to make it. I'm going to do this for 30 minutes. There's no way I'm making through this debate. I cannot believe this is my first time seeing it. I can't believe it was this bad. This is terrible.
Workers.
All right. I will allow a 15-second rebuttal to his comments that you have been making things in China. Mr. Oz.
I've been trying to talk about policy issues with the people of Pennsylvania. As a doctor, I listen to their ideas and I want to talk about them. When John Fetterman brings up houses, the irony is he didn't pay for his own house. He got it for $1 from his sister. And
Okay. I see you, Oz. Okay. I see you, Oz. All right. That's a nice low. Not a low enough of a blow for me, but I see you trying to play a little bit of offense there.
And he hasn't been able to earn a living on his own. He's lived off his parents. So it's not a topic that we should be debating on the stage. We should be talking about crime.
Why not, bro? Why not? This is what I'm talking about. These Republicans who don't want to attack is this the guy that you want on your side? Is this the guy you want on your side right here? The guy, let's all just come together and get along. If you're being attacked, and if you're on the right and you're an American, right? Even if you're moderate, you are under attack. Right now, we are living in perilous times. Massive amounts of crime, inflation, The culture is trash. We're losing our position in the world. We're sending all this money off to foreign wars. And this is the guy. He just wants us all to come together and get along. He's not mad about it. He doesn't. This guy, there's no passion. This is the thing for Fetterman, right? For Fetterman, I get it, right? He's had a stroke. There's no passion in Oz at all. This is somebody that it doesn't piss him off enough. And you's like, well, I don't want to talk about a Fetterman's past. Why not? All is fair in this. This is a debate. This is for the future of the nation. I don't care. Throw out the rule book. Go at his past. This guy is not he's not the guy, man. He may win, but he's not the guy. Not the guy to me.
And the issues that are hurting Pennsylvanians that they're talking about at their kitchen table.
Kitchen table.
That's like, he got his Pennsylvania house from his own inlays from a dollar.
Mr. Fetterman, we have to continue.
I mean, at least Fetterman's trying to hit back, bro.
We'll continue on with a follow-up question to you, Mr. Oz. This one is just for you. You tweeted in August that you will never stop fighting to lower gas prices for Pennsylvanians. Does that include supporting a suspension of the federal gas tax? You have 30 seconds.
I'm supportive of reducing taxes, but we want to be thoughtful about the long-term game plan to get gas taxes down and, frankly, all energy prices down. I have gone around the Commonwealth. I've witnessed people say, I'm not going on vacation this year because I can't afford to pay to take my trailer to the campground. They can't even get there. What we have to do is ensure that we don't have increased inflation, and the best way to do that is reduce gas prices. John Fetterman has gone after the energy industry, called it a stain on Pennsylvania, and argued we have to ban fracking. That is disconnected from Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Mr. Oz. We will get to the issue of fracking later on in this discussion. But meantime, turning back to you, Mr. Fetterman, for a follow-up. In an op-ed for the Wilkes-Barre Times Leader, you wrote, quote, "It is time we crack down on the big price gouging corporations that are making record profits while jacking up prices for all of us." How do you plan to do this?
I don't disagree with that statement. I mean, a lot of these corporations have shown that they don't have the best interests of the United States at heart. I mean, the way that they come together and cancel people, they don't care about the American worker. They don't, I think the answer to this is some form of union. I think we need better discrimination laws on their books for people with certain political ideologies, which I think is now a hunted class. I'm anxious to hear what both of them have to say about this.
Sir, you mentioned going after price gouging corporations. How do you plan to do this? You have 30 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. We have to keep pushing back on that. And he would never make that choice to fight for America.
Wow, he's attacking, bro. He's not even Fetterman. Old Fester Adams is coming at him. He's not even answering the question. He's just going at Oz's neck.
Families here in Pennsylvania, he has never met an oil company that he doesn't swipe right about. He has never been able to stand up for working families all across Pennsylvania. We must push back. Inflation has hurt Americans and Pennsylvania's families, and it has given the oil companies record profits.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fetterman. Turning to the next issue, Dennis.
The minimum wage in Pennsylvania and at the national level currently sits at $7.25 an hour.
You see how Fester Adams didn't even answer the question. Like Fester didn't even answer. Like he just started attacking Oz.
Has not been increased since 2009. Each of our neighboring states has raised minimum wages. You see them there on your screen, including New Jersey at $13 an hour and West Virginia at $8.75. But Pennsylvania has not followed suit. The first question is for you, Mr. Fetterman. Do you support raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour? Why or why not? You have 60 seconds.
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. I think it's a disgrace at $7.25 an hour. And how can a man,
he's attacking Oz, bro. He's going for Oz's throat every single time. Like every time he talks, he's going at Oz's neck. My opinions on the minimum wage is this, right? I'm not down with raising it because there's no way you can raise it without raising cost of living. I'm honestly more concerned about cost of living than I am minimum wage, to be all the way real with you. Like, we got to get cost of living under control. Like housing prices, unaffordable for the average person, food unaffordable for the average person. Like, we know that minimum wage is tied to increase in cost of living. I think you handle cost of living first and then work back from minimum wage. That's my opinion. But let's see what he's got here. He's going at Oz's neck, though.
10 gigantic mansions, has unwilling to talk about a willing wage for anybody. Imagine a single mom with 2 children, trying to raise with them, realizing making $31,000 a year, $15 an hour. I believe every work has dignity, and every paycheck must have dignity in it as well. True, I've always supported a living wage, and we make sure that everyone has economic security.
I have a follow-up for you, Mr. Fetterman. What do you say to small business owners who have told us that if the minimum wage were increased to $15 an hour, it would put them out of business? You have 30 seconds.
And that's so funny, because that's why you see a lot of larger corporations who will even advocate for a higher minimum wage, because it wipes out a lot of their competition, which is small and medium business. Also healthcare, right? They wanted the healthcare system to be what it is in terms of the Obamacare, because it wiped out a lot of, smaller to medium businesses who couldn't afford to take that healthcare on. So
we all have to make sure that everyone that works is able to, that's the most American bargain, that if you work full time, you should be able to live in dignity as well. As true. And I believe they haven't have any businesses being you can't have businesses being subsidized by not paying individuals that just simply can't afford to pay their own way.
Okay, Mr. Fetterman, thank you. Mr. Oz, turning to you.
But you're subsidizing illegals in here, though. Like, you're subsidizing the people that are not working as well. So, but go off.
Do you support raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour? Why or why not? You have 60 seconds.
I think market forces have already driven up the minimum wage. I was with a hotel worker actually here in Harrisburg a few months ago, and he was telling me how hard it was to live on the $15 an hour that he was getting paid.
Okay.
John Fetterman.
Okay, Oz. Okay. There you go. Hit it, Oz. You better talk about cost of living. Let me see if you got some, Green Goblin. And
shoots too low. We want much more money than that. And there are many ways to achieve that. But John Fetterman thinks the minimum wage is his weekly allowance from his parents. He's not really cognizant of the real challenges of business owners who've got to balance that with employees. Thankfully, we have a solution. And John, you didn't answer the question. You can't put businesses out.
That's facts. He didn't. John hasn't. Fetterman Fester has not answered many of these questions. He's just going at your neck, Green Goblin.
Commission in order to pay more wages, because the wages will go to zero, which is John Fetterman's radical plan if you really follow it to conclusion. Here's what I would do. We have one of the richest energy states in the country. I believe if we could unleash the energy beneath our feet here in Pennsylvania, there'd be plenty of money around. We'd have increased wages, a more reason for students to take vocational classes, to be able to learn trades, which I'm strongly supportive of. We'd also be able to.
Okay, Ozzy throwing out some hits here. Green Goblin on the comeback.
Pipe that gas, improve our economy, and reduce inflation. That's a plan that works, and it's humble enough that I can say broadly.
Thank you. I want to give you.
Okay, so all right, okay. All right, I give him respect when he's got the respect. I give him okay. All right, you can win me over with energy. I mean, energy, and like you said, energy, Votech, trades. Okay, you can get me with that. I got you, Ozzy. Go. Good round, I guess.
You, Mr. Fetterman, a 15-second follow-up to what he just said about you.
No, again, it's remarkable. He hasn't really had any answer that he actually had about that in his. He doesn't want to talk.
He just answered it, bro. What are you talking about?
Talk about having some.
He needs to button that top button up too. Look at that top button unbuttoned again. That gets on my nerve, man. If there's one thing I can't stand people who wear ties and suits and don't button the top button. You look like a geek. I'm telling you, bro. It's probably because that neck is so big. You probably couldn't even button that shit.
Somebody having a living wage and having somebody able to survive again.
And I want to come back to you now, Mr. Oz, for a quick follow-up. What do you say to those Pennsylvanians that he just spoke of that are trying to survive on $7.25 an hour, which is less than all of our.
You didn't even let this dude didn't even answer the question. Bro, they're letting Fetterman off the hook with this.
Neighbors, you have 30 seconds.
Oh, I don't think you should have to survive on $7.25 an hour. I want the minimum wage up as high as it can go. I want to highlight that I have an agenda for prosperity, unlike John Fetterman. I want us all getting paid a lot more than $15. And I answered your question directly in a way that would preserve business owners, job creators, so they thrive, and we'd have lots more employees entering the workforce and then prospering, getting paid $25, $35, $45 an hour.
Okay.
But we're never going to get there if we don't unleash our energy. And John Fetterman's
I don't know, man. Oz might have won that round, bro. Ozzy might have got with him on that.
stubbornness on calling it a stain on Pennsylvania is an insult to those workers.
To be clear, you said you want people making a lot more, but that's not through a federal law of minimum wage. That's through market forces.
Market forces should drive it up anyway, and it's already done that.
Thank you.
You know, you should be able to get paid.
So he would reduce the law. No, he would reduce the laws on energy.
Much more than $15 an hour.
Thank you. Lisa.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Another big issue for voters is abortion. Mr. Oz, we will begin with you.
Let's see. Here
you
we go.
You're pro-life, but you do support abortion exceptions in the cases of rape, incest, and to protect the life of the mother. Aside from those three exceptions, should abortion be banned in America? 60 seconds.
There should not be involvement from the federal government in.
Here we go. This is what I'm talking about. Too afraid to take a stand. Too afraid to say yes or no.
How states decide their abortion decisions.
It's not what she asked, you stupid.
As a physician, I've been in the room when there's some difficult conversations happening. I don't want the federal government involved with that at all. I want women, doctors, local political leaders, letting the democracy that's always allowed our nation to thrive, to put the best ideas forward so states can decide for themselves. Contrast that with my opponent, John Fetterman, who on this debate stage said that he would demand federally mandated rules for all states they have to follow that would allow abortion at 38 weeks on the delivery table, and he would force it to be subsidized by taxpayers across the country, no matter what their personal beliefs are. That's radical. That's extreme. That is out of touch with what.
Dude, you're just soft, bro. You're not the answer. Like, if he's radical, you can't beat radicalism with moderation. Like, you're the guy asking for softness in the middle of a conflict. Like, this guy's dumb.
The average voter in Pennsylvania believes is appropriate. Now, ironically, John Fetterman has been running ads on this topic, dishonest ads. I need to correct the record. They were so bad, they got pulled off television stations. Even on this station, he was running dishonest ads that I had pulled off. I haven't had a single ad pulled down. My ads tell the truth. John Fetterman.
Your ads probably ain't saying enough. You ain't doing enough. That just shows you he's willing to fight more than you're willing to fight. Like, that's this guy, man.
You're a fiction of his imagination.
All right. I'm going to let Mr. Fetterman respond specifically about the ads being pulled off the air, and then we will return to you, Mr. Oz. Mr. Fetterman.
Yeah. I want to look into the face of every woman in Pennsylvania. You know, if you believe that the choice of your reproductive freedom belongs with Dr. Oz, then you have a choice. But if you believe that
he is a doctor,
choice for abortion belongs between you and your doctor, that's what I fight for. Roe v. Wade, for me, should be the law. He celebrated when Roe v. Wade went down, and my campaign would fight for Roe v. Wade, and if given the opportunity, to codify it into law.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fetterman. Going back to you, I want to circle back to something that you said, Mr. Oz. You mentioned the decision to regulate abortion should be something that is left up to the states. Now, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has introduced a federal bill to ban abortion after 15
Lindsey.
weeks. I know that you've been asked about this question before. If the vote were held today, you were elected senator, you're on the Senate floor, the clerk calls you, there's a roll call vote. Are you a yay or a nay? How would you vote on the Lindsey Graham bill? You
Let's
have
go.
30 seconds.
Let's go.
Lisa, I don't even need.
Let's go. Let me show you. Let's go.
30 seconds. I'll give you a bigger answer. I am not going to support federal rules
Bitch.
that block the ability of states to do what they wish to do. The abortion.
Weakness. Inability to make a decision. Inability. Fence sitter. She's asking you your personal belief if you think it's right or wrong. You see, these people think it's right. So if they think it's right, they force what they believe on everybody else. And this allow everybody to exist in a bubble mentality that he has. This is not the answer. This sit on my hands and do nothing stuff, this is how we got here. Because we had a bunch of people like this who wanted to sit around and do nothing and just allow people the freedom, whatever that means. So that means the freedom to go out and riot, the freedom to go out and destroy, the freedom to introduce inflation, the freedom to regulate. This is not the answer, man. These people who have no aggression in them right now during these radical times, this is not the answer at all.
Abortion decision should be left up to states, and specifically when John
You
Fetterman
roll
wants,
with Doug Mastriano.
John, when I'm
You
done,
already-
John, you'll have your turn,
Mr.
John.
One moment, Mr.
You'll
Fetterman.
have your
Continue,
turn.
Mr.
You'll
Oz.
have your turn, John. Like, this is not the guy. Can you imagine if that was Trump up there? Imagine if that was Donald Trump. Like, can you imagine somebody with some aggression, with some passion in their voice? I don't want this. This is not, he doesn't represent, listen, I'm not a resident of Pennsylvania. He doesn't represent what I believe at all.
very clear on my desire as a physician not to interfere with how states decide. So when John purposely, knowingly misrepresents that to women, he scares them. He's purposely trying to alarm them, and the fear mongering isn't working. Running tens of millions of dollars
It is working because you're losing in the polls, stupid.
of ads claim
You're losing to somebody that's handicapped at the moment. What does that say about you? This has to be one of the worst Senate picks ever, man.
that I'm against all abortions when he knows that's not right, claiming that I'm going to be strict with Pennsylvania when he knows that's not honest. I can't be any clearer that I've been on the stage today. John Fetterman, if you just hear that one story today, I'd be really happy, but I know you're not going to, because you're going to go right back to telling the fables that you believe.
Mr. Oz, I want a 15-second clarification. You are saying that you would leave it up to the states, that the federal government does not have a role here. So are you saying you would not vote for the Lindsey Graham bill?
Any bill that
Answer is yes or no, bro.
violates what I said, which is the federal government interfering with the state rule on abortion, I would vote against. What I feel strongly about is that women in Pennsylvania understand what I'm saying and not believe that someone who's taken an extreme position like John Fetterman represents them.
Extreme. How many times does he use the word extreme? How many times does he use that word?
Most women do not believe that we should, at a federal level, codify 38 weeks of
so you're pandering to the crowd instead of actually being a man and standing on your principles and what you believe. I got it.
permission to have an abortion and have taxpayers pay for it.
So a yes or no on the Lindsey Graham bill?
I think I've answered this very, very clearly 3 times.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Oz. Turning to you, Mr. Fetterman, you have frequently stated your belief that abortion should be safe and legal. Do you support any limits on when a woman can have an abortion? Please explain in 60 seconds.
You know, what I support on Roe v. Wade. That was the law of the land for 50 years. He celebrated when it fell down, and I would fight to reestablish on Roe v. Wade. That's what I run on. That's what I believe, and I've always believed that the choice believes.
You see this? You see what he's doing? He's talking about what I believe. He's saying this is what I believe in. He's bold enough to say what I believe in. Why is Oz not able to do the same? He's saying this is what I believe in. Dr. Oz is talking about what the women believe in.
Women and their doctors, and he believes that the choice should be with him or Republican legislators all across this nation.
All right.
I'm sorry, I must correct that. Once again, he's misrepresented what I've said, but he also said something very dishonest. On this debate stage, he said very specifically in his primary debate, when he was still debating, that he would support 38 weeks of mandated rules by the federal government that would prevent any state from blocking it. But that's not Roe versus
That's not
Wade.
true. I support Roe v. Wade. That's the simple.
John,
Roe
you
v. Wade.
said specifically you would
All
support
right.
a
Thank you,
federal
Mr.
rule
Oz.
on 38
Mr. Oz,
weeks.
thank you.
But how
Thank
can-
you.
I think it's important that John at least acknowledge that he's not honest here, because you said the
All right,
opposite
Mr.
on
Oz,
TV.
we must continue on. Mr. Fetterman, turning to you, we have a follow-up question. Would you support allocating federal funds to transport women who live in states where abortion is banned to states where they can get one, and why? 30 seconds.
You want to talk about extreme? That's extreme. Let's see what weak Oz. Well, that's the federal. I'm not going to use federal government because it's all about the federal government and limited government. Like, what about principles? What about what you believe in? I guess the only thing you believe in is being anti. Like, this is so dumb, bro.
I would. I would, because
that?
I believe abortion
See that?
rights
See?
is a universal right for all women in America. I believe that
Now that's extreme. You see this? Now and he's willing to stand on what he believes.
I believe abortion is health care. And I believe that that is a choice that belongs with each woman and their doctor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fetterman. Turning to the next issue, Dennis.
Thank you, Lisa. Let's turn to what has become one of the key themes of this race, fitness to serve. For these individual questions, there will be no rebuttals allowed. Mr. Fetterman, we begin with you. You suffered, as you mentioned a moment ago, a stroke 4 days before the May primary. Last week, you released this note from your doctor saying you can work full duty in public office, but you have not released your detailed medical records surrounding your stroke. Mr. Fetterman, will you pledge tonight to release those records in the interest of transparency? You have 60 seconds.
No. To me, for transparency is about showing up. I'm here today to have a debate. I have, speeches in front of 3,000 people in Montgomery County, all across Pennsylvania, big crowds. I believe if my doctor believes that I'm fit to serve, and that's what I believe is appropriate. And now with 2 weeks before the election,
giving us 5 more minutes because this is really pissing me off.
I've been very transparent about being very open about the fact we're going to use captioning. And I believe that, again, my doctors, the real doctors that I believe in, they all believe that I'm ready to be served.
Follow up. I didn't hear you say you would release your full medical records. Why not? You have 30 seconds.
No, again, my Dr. L believes that I'm fit to be serving, and that's what I believe is where I'm standing.
Okay, Mr. Fetterman, thank you. Mr. Oz, you have built a lucrative career around medicine, but you've been criticized even by some fellow physicians for promoting, quote, unproven, ill-advised, and at times potentially dangerous treatments. What is your response to that? You have 60 seconds.
One of the great blessings of traveling around Pennsylvania is you run into people who have watched the show. They thank me very much for giving them life-saving advice on chronic issues like high blood pressure or dealing with their anxiety. The show did very well because it provided high-quality information that empowered people, which was exactly what I want to do when I'm a senator. Give people the power. Let them make decisions for their well-being. Now, John Fetterman's approach to health is a very dangerous one. He believes we should socialize medicine. He embraced this with Bernie Sanders, who endorsed the two.
Not the 2012 Republican talking points of socialism, right?
Candidates call themselves the two most progressive people in America. When you have socialized medicine, Dennis, you shut down the ability of people to get access to health care. Doctors stop practicing. There are no medications available. The lines get long. It's a disaster, and it puts people at risk. So I don't believe we should allow socialized medicine, the abolition of all private health care insurance in America.
He didn't even ask you that. That's not what he asked you.
And radical positions like the ones taken by John Fetterman make him too extreme to serve.
Extreme and radical. That's his. How many times has he said this in these debates? Extreme and radical. These people don't want solutions. Their goal is to do nothing, man.
If we're going to bring balance to Washington, you got to bring people who understand the ramifications.
Here goes the balance talk again. Who wrote this debate for this guy? Somebody wrote this. He's being handled and told what to say, man.
Even Joe Biden called John Fetterman's idea.
Moderation and balance will not solve what we have right now. It just won't. It won't. It won't. Doing nothing and coming together and this passiveness is not the answer to where we are. And why is he the only one talking about this? The other side is not. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I'll quote him. Preposterous.
Mr. Fetterman, I'm going to let you respond in just a minute, but I have a follow-up for you first, Mr. Oz. Did you or your company make a profit from promoting those products? You have 30 seconds.
I never sold weight loss products as described in those commercials. It's a television show. Like this is a television show. So people can run commercials on the shows. And that's a perfectly appropriate and very transparent process. I ruffled
2 more
a lot
minutes
of
of this
feathers
stuff
on my show because I told people the truth. And I'm proud.
Oh, you did? Oh, you did? You're not ruffling any feathers right now, driving Miss Daisy.
Of that. I'll do the exact same thing as a U.S. senator. But
no, you won't.
But
you want to be moderate. You're not ruffling feathers, bro. You just said you're against extreme, radical. We need balance. We need to all come together, man. Shut up, man.
Way to defend what John Fetterman has done with socialized medicine. That is a radical departure from what we in America
Again, he said it again.
have accepted.
I
A
must
relationship
respond
between
to
your
that.
John, you'll have your turn. John, let me finish.
Respond to that.
There must be a relationship between a doctor and a patient, and that's what I would direct patients to do.
Thank you. Mr. Fetterman, he accused you of socialized medicine, supporting socialized medicine. What is your response?
Yeah, again, it's the Oz rule. He's on TV and he's lying. I never supported any of that thing. You know, he keeps talking about Bernie Sanders. You know, 3 years ago, he was on his show and he hugged him and he said, "I love this guy." You know what? Why don't you pretend that you live in Vermont instead of Pennsylvania and run against Bernie Sanders? Because all you can do is talk about Bernie Sanders. Because my truth is that healthcare is a basic fundamental right. And I believe in expanding that. And I believe about fighting for healthcare, the kind of healthcare that saved my life.
Dennis, that was dishonest. He explicitly supported socialized
Mr. Oz,
medicine.
we have a
Bernie
lot of
Sanders.
topics to get to. I think we finished. Lisa, you go ahead.
We are going to move on to the next topic, and this has come up earlier, and that is the issue of fracking. Pennsylvania only trails Texas in terms of natural gas production. Both of you have taken shifting positions on the issue of fracking.
All right, I'm done. I've heard enough. I'm sorry.